Mr. Tyler, we're starting something new. This is an interview show. It's going to be on a regular basis. Why don't you tell viewers what they can expect from this program from your viewpoint?
Yes, Ron, it is new, and I want to thank Channel 99 for giving us this opportunity, giving me this opportunity to continue to promote our school system. After last year being my first year on the job, I felt like that I wanted to expand communication and touch base with more of our constituencies out there, our stakeholders. We have our school system website. We have our Facebook system, Facebook. But I felt like that maybe I wasn't reaching as many people as I would like to have reached. So through this effort with Channel 99, I can come on and let those out there know what our system is doing on a consistent basis. I can bring directors, supervisors, coordinators, staff members, principals on from time to time to let them talk about what's going on in their schools. So as I assessed last year, I felt like that I wanted another venue, and Channel 99 has provided that.
If you look at this and the way it's going to relate to you've mainly talked about, what do you think the staff is going to get out of this program?
The staff, as in
the people that work around
employed
you.
in our
Yes.
system. Well, hopefully, I would want them to come away from watching this as it's an opportunity for them also to learn more about what goes on, because you can just imagine that it's hard for a superintendent in any system to get around and have a daily conversation or a constant conversation with staff, employees. I do that as much as I can, but I think they'll walk away from this with feeling like they too can learn consistently about what goes on in our system.
When you look at what the superintendent's office does with other students that are in the system, what do you see as your position with students is at this time?
Well, I want to connect with students. It is difficult. They see me on a regular basis as I move in and out of the schools, as I go in and out of classrooms and say hello to teachers and students. I'm eating lunch with students. My efforts this year will be 1 to 2 times a week to get into our schools and sit down, go through our cafeteria line and sit down and dialogue with students casually, just to find out how they're doing, a little bit more about them. Also, I'm connecting with students through our student advisory group. Last year I started Superintendent Student Advisory, and there's a group of students selected by the administration at each school. The guidelines were I want students from all walks of life. I just didn't want the high-level learners. I wanted to incorporate a kind of a hodgepodge of different learners, and to sit down with them once a month to get a better feel from them about school life, because you can learn so much by talking to those students. And if it's just me they're talking to, and of course I have to gain that trust, then hopefully they'll open up and I can find out a lot more about what's going on, about what they like, what they're concerned about, or what they would like to see changed.
When you look at students and you explain it this way, there's one very important element that has to be added, the parent. What can a parent expect from the superintendent's office?
Open communication. Now, some parents might say, well, I call and I can't get to the superintendent. But maybe they're not calling and asking, or calling the right number or asking the right people. Generally, they're going to be able to get to me. But what I do ask of parents is they follow a process, and that there's ever a problem at their child's school, that they communicate hopefully first with that teacher, then communicate with the administration. If they're still not satisfied with what's going on, or they're not getting the answers that they're seeking, I have directors. Our board, we have directors here that do certain jobs in our system. and I ask that they be connected with that director, because a lot of times their questions can be answered without having to sit down with me. Because generally when they sit down with me, I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to ask if they've been through those steps, and then I'm in turn going to go back and talk to the administration or the teacher after talking to the parents, so I can get a little bit better understanding. And somewhere in the middle, we'll come to an agreement on what needs to happen, or maybe there was a misunderstanding. So parents can know that I am accessible. Just to walk in the door a lot of times and expect me to be here or to see them, if I can, I will, but a lot of times that's just not possible in what I do. But I do want to let them know that I am open. They can get to Susan Webb, my executive secretary. They can call Mitzi. They can call anyone and let them know they have a concern. But they can eventually get to me.
When you talk about this process of going student, parent, now let's talk about another part of that process. Teacher advisory meetings. What is your view on those?
Well, teacher advisory meetings, started that last year. And I might not have mentioned when you talked about parents that I do have a parent advisory committee that meets once a month. Those parents are selected by the local administration, and we come and discuss some of their concerns, questions they have. And it's an open dialogue. Same with teachers. With the teachers, they're selected by their administrators. Teachers come and meet with me once a month. They only meet with me. There are no principals, there are no directors or supervisors. It's just meeting with me so that we can create a comfort zone where they can share freely with me their feelings as an educator. I mean, for the better part of 25 years, I was in the classroom. So I do understand the grassroots, and that's where the boots are on the ground. But I want them to feel comfortable. Once they give me their concerns or comments, and a lot of times it's good comments, then I'll research that and I'll find out the answers and we'll return those answers to them. The ground rules we lay with parents and teachers is any of our discussion is not going to be mean-spirited. It's not going to target individuals openly. They can always get to me one-on-one if they have a concern about an individual. So it's an open dialogue. I want people to feel comfortable. I want parents to feel empowered, and I want our teachers to feel empowered.
When you look at this chain of command and you come into an area that has become very prominent over the years, assistant principal, how do you relate with these assistant principals? Assistant principals, when I was an assistant principal, basically the only way I related with my supervisors or those above me was if I was fortunate enough to sit in on certain meetings that my principal might invite me to. Now, I did dialogue with my principal naturally to stay in touch with what's going on in the school. But what I've created here last year is I asked my assistant principals to come meet with me once a month. Last year, we just openly dialogued. I would talk to them about the system, about some of my thoughts on leadership. I would listen to them. We would talk about some of the latest and greatest coming from the State Department of Education or out of the legislature. This year, I'm going to format it a little bit differently. As they come in, I think as an assistant principal, you need to get that training. Now, you do get a lot of on-the-job training. There's no doubt about it. Kind of just thrown into the fire. But what I want to do is each time we meet, maybe bring in a director, like bring in our CSFO, Angie Ellis, who can take 30 minutes and kind of enlighten them about how schools are funded, how funding comes from the state legislature. So it gives them a little bit better idea when one day they step into a principalship. Bring in John Beasley, who is over our Human Resource Department, to talk about more about the Students First Act, about what you can and can't do, teachers' rights, their rights, the employment law. So I want to try to educate them each month on a topic instead of just coming and just having a casual conversation. So that's the change I'm making this year with them.
It was the craziest thing. I was just driving along and this squirrel came out of nowhere.
The good news is, Alpha has the largest customer service team in Alabama, so you'll be dealing with people here, not all over the country.
Awesome. Really not a scratch on it.
You are lucky.
For a plan built just for you, contact Keith Bryan in Eufaula.
Looking on up the chain, you come to principals. What do you envision as the principals doing in this system?
Well, I envision principals as being the instructional leaders of their school. And right now, during my watch, I'm in my second year, I would hope that they would think that they're not chained to anything, that the sky's the limit. I do feel like I want our system to be very progressive, more progressive than it's been. I've asked our principals to research what it takes to be a blue ribbon or a torchbearer school, to bring AMSTI, which is a resource into their school for science, technology, math that can be provided. It's intensive training for our teachers, but tremendous amount of resources are realized through AMSTI. Anything that we can do to enhance classroom instruction and give our students everything that they can possibly have to compete in a global world economy, which is so accessible now. All they got to do is click a button and they're dialoguing with someone, 8,000 miles away or 20,000 miles away. So our students need that capability.
When you look at the level of the principals and we see the excellent principals we have in this system, then you've got a group under you, you've mentioned to some degree, directors. And they probably are the unsung heroes of the school district. Mm-hmm. How would you relate to them?
Well, what we do twice a month, I meet with my directors, supervisors, coordinators twice a month. One of those two meetings is in conjunction with our principals. So all of our principals meet once a month with me and the directors. And it might be anywhere from an hour, hour and a half to 2 hour meeting, so that our directors can get a little bit better understanding of what's going on in the schools, so the principals can get a little bit better understanding of what's going on at the system level and how we reach out to the school, so there's no misunderstanding or miscommunication. Then the second meeting of the month is just my directors, supervisors, and coordinators, and we come together to discuss the system, their division, and how their division can continue to move our system forward.
Looking on up even further in this chain, above you, there is a school board. That board meets every month. What should the people of Eufaula expect from their school board?
Well, I think they're a service-oriented group. This school board does it for the love of children and for the love of their community. They get no pay. They get no pay for what they do. Some school boards, there'll soon be 135 public school systems in the state of Alabama. And a lot of boards do get a monthly stipends. This board does not. And I can truly say, since I served as an assistant superintendent for 4 years and sat in front of a 7-member board twice a month with the superintendent and others, this 5-member board is truly dedicated to the students, to education, and to creating the best possible opportunities for Eufaula City Schools. And what I am excited about and just really amazed by is the longevity and how their enthusiasm has somehow been maintained. And I can tell you right now that this board, in my second year, I do believe is truly committed to taking our system from not just being a very good system, but to being a great system. And we have some great plans for that.
Concerning your office and the board members, how much encouragement do you give the general public to come to these meetings?
Well, there is the Open Meetings Act. That's been there for years. It is highly publicized to the public. in the print media, and probably on some of our resources, that we have our meetings once a month, when they are, what time, that it's open to the public. The only time that anything's not open is if there's a need to go into what we call executive session, and that is announced publicly at the meeting, and we do that most of the time to protect the good name and character of individuals. But the open meetings is something I encourage, hopefully through Channel 99, is for our stakeholders out there, whether they be bankers, lawyers, business leaders, chamber members, or just hard-working parents that work 8, 10, 12 hours a day. If they have the opportunity to come and sit in on a public board meeting and just watch the process, it is a wonderful process, and it has a purpose, and people can get up in front of the board if they give notice to maybe ask a question, to make comments, or if they have a concern. So I do encourage, and hopefully Channel 99 will be another avenue that our constituencies out there can see, hey, I didn't know, I want to go watch the process. And our board meetings usually don't last very long. It's unusual if they run past 30 minutes or 45 minutes. We get to the business at hand, and people can see the process.
When you look at this system and you see the growth in this system, you've got to attribute a lot of that growth to this system recognizing technology and the importance of it. How do you see technology working in the Eufaula City Schools now and in the future?
Now we have good technology in place in Eufaula City Schools. I know, and I've communicated this to our board, that it can be better. Our teachers in our schools and our students generally have technology that we use as resources to enhance education in the classroom, to enhance instruction. We have interactive whiteboards, smart boards in our classrooms. There aren't in all of our classrooms, and my goal is to make sure that we get them in all of our classrooms. We have steadily added since I came on board a year ago, and it concerns me that they're not in all of our classrooms, and I want them in all of our classrooms. We have, our mobile labs that our libraries have that can run our laptops to different classrooms. We are looking at a one-to-one initiative, and our one-to-one initiative is a movement that's going around the state and probably around the country that deals with students having access to a technology device, whether it be a small laptop, an iPad, an Android device of some nature. And what we're looking at in our school system, and I've talked to the board and I publicly talked about this, is in order for our students to compete in the 21st century, which we're in now. Ron, we're 13 years into the 21st century, and we keep talking about, not just us, but other systems, about 21st century classrooms. We're not there yet. And before you know it, these elementary and primary students that we have, by the time they graduate, we'll almost be a quarter of the way through the 21st century. Are we still going to be talking about 21st century classrooms by the time they're juniors and seniors? Or are we going to move now to put devices in our high school students, middle and elementary school students, so that they can compete not just on a state level or national level, but globally? And why should Eufaula City Schools take a back seat to any other county or public school system? Our board, I think, really is committed, once they get enough information for us to move forward. This one-to-one initiative is important, and we want to first prepare our teachers. We're just not going to roll something out when they're not prepared. So we're going to give our teachers plenty of professional development. Once we identify the device, once we identify where we want this one-to-one to land, we certainly can't do it in all of our grade levels. So we've got to determine where we want to start this initiative. Is it in elementary school, middle, high school? But we want to give our teachers plenty of professional development so that when we put this in the hands of our students, that our teachers are ready to go. Our teachers then can become more of a facilitator. And our students are the ones that can drive classroom instruction. So that's what we're hoping for. We're working with the city. I know the city wants to enhance their wireless capabilities throughout the city limits. We need to look at how some of our rural households can access some low-cost internet. But these students will have these devices that they'll take home with them. And they can sit at McDonald's, or they can sit at the library. They can sit anywhere they want to and access through the device that we provide for them. So we're excited about it. Hopefully, within a year, that I've been talking about it since I came on board last year, but hopefully we're moving in the right direction. We have a task force that we've developed, and we're going to visit school systems that have been doing this. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to learn from their mistakes. So technology, we have technology, but in order for us to compete and have our students compete for scholarships and in the global economy, we need more.
Change the way you think about tires with a tire that outperforms the rest. Stop shorter, lasts longer, save fuel. Get it with a Michelin tire from Herndon Tire Company. Outperforming for your business since 1964. Herndon Tire Company offers you the best tires, Michelin, and the best service. Alignments, brake repairs, struts, oil changes, custom exhaust, and nitrogen for your tires. For a safe, smooth ride, see them today. Herndon Tire Company, 810 South Eufaula Avenue, Eufaula.
When we talk about the technology and the whiteboards that you've talked about, that you're trying to get in each individual classroom, there's quite an expense to this, isn't there? People don't understand.
No, they don't. That's one thing that we have to do. We can't put the cart before the horse. And our CSFO, Angie Ellis, she and I have been talking on a consistent basis over the last 6 to 8 months or better about funding. We've got to be able to identify funding. We've got to be able to go after that funding. And then once we put this technology in place and in the hands of our teachers and students, we've got to be able to maintain that funding. So Ms. Ellis is working on communicating with CSFOs from around the state that might be involved in this one-to-one initiative, that have either been into it for a year or two or for several years, to find out how they started it. What we're going to do is we're going to take like I say, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to learn from others' mistakes, but funding is a big issue, and we've got to be able to identify resources so that we can maintain this initiative in order for our students to be better prepared.
When you look at what's going on in education in Alabama, we've got excellent colleges here and universities. They're all over the state. We're blessed with that initiative to have that many facilities. When we look at the career readiness of a university for the students of Eufaula, how ready will they be?
Our teachers are working extremely hard, I have no doubt, especially when I stick my head in classrooms or attend some of their professional development sessions. Working extremely hard to stay current and get ahead of the curve so that they can be better prepared to give quality instruction to every child that comes into their classroom. Our state has developed a college and career ready standards base. We're part of a partnership with the National Governors Association of Best Practices, and a council of chief school officers, and along with 48 other states in the District of Columbia, have over a period of several years have developed a set of standards that will give states clear direction on what students need to learn academically. So we're one of 48. What our state did, we took the Common Core state standards. We partnered that with what our State Board of Education felt like needed to stay with our course of study. So there was 26 standards, state standards in our course of study that we incorporated with the Common Core state standards, and is where you get our college and career ready standards. And through this initiative of Dr. Bice and our State Board of Education and our state legislature, this will better prepare our students to be global, to be national. It helps where if you leave Alabama and you go to Oregon and you're a 10th grade student, you don't have to relearn everything. You're going to have standards in Oregon that are going to be standards that Alabama has, so that it's easier for a child to stay on top of their education. That when students move around, like in the military is a big supporter of the Common Core state standards. Business leaders, they see the value that has been put into this. And I do want to let our constituents know, our stakeholders know, that in no way is our college and career ready standards politically driven. Now, they're going to listen to a side that feels like it is. So I guess they've got to determine for themselves, and I hope they will, what's best for a child. Are we going to stop teaching Shakespeare because of the Common Core standards? No. Is less nonfiction going to be taught and read? Yes. Because that is what business leaders and CEOs say is needed out of our graduates. That's what colleges will continue to do. So it just depends on what side of the aisle you listen to and who you're talking to in the coffee shop. But the Common Core standards are developed by teachers, by educators, by groups of business leaders that's going to give our students the best opportunity to compete and be successful.
When you look at these standards, and every student is faced with them if they want to move on to higher education, are there certain things, I know we're going to talk about this more in the future, are there certain times of year that's easier for a student to get into a college or university after they have their diploma?
Certain times of the year that's easier to get into a college?
Yes.
Well, naturally, I guess if I'm understanding, I'm sure I'm not clear on your.
In my generation, mid-60s, when I went to the university, and I said I had a desperate desire to get into certain programs, they advised me to go into the summer program because I would have a better chance of getting what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Is that still true today?
I would have to say no. Okay. I would have to say that our colleges and universities have expanded their resource base and the materials that they have available for students coming out of high school. So I would say that our colleges and universities, they've aligned themselves also with what's going on with the Common Core standards. They have developed their programs that better fit. Our relationship with Wallace Sparks, since I've been here over a year now, we've had numerous conversations with Dr. Young and her group about how we can better serve each other and serve our students. We have just recently, our board just redid our dual enrollment agreement with Wallace Sparks. In the past, if a child chose to do dual enrollment, it was for elective credit only. But now, with our new agreement, if they take English, then they'll get college English credit along with also getting their English credit here at their high school. So this is going to give students a jump on college, and you can start dual enrollment, I believe now, and I might have to correct myself, as early as sophomore year. And so if you do dual enrollment on a consistent basis, and you can do it in career tech areas too, to where you can come out of high school, if you're in a career tech field, with almost a 2-year associate degree in this dual enrollment agreement now. So I encourage parents to get with their high school and our high school and look more into the dual enrollment possibilities.
When we talk about this higher education and some of the things the system is doing, one of the things that comes up last year was that we had a core math program, and now it's expanded into English. Kind of explain that concept.
Well, the math standards and the English standards, those were the two areas that the group that was developed, the 48 states, the Governor's Alliance, the Chief Council of School Officers, teachers and educators felt like the English language arts and the mathematics, those were two areas that if we expand and make it more rigorous and develop standards that are consistent throughout the country, these are the basics, math and English, that students need that propel them to be successful in other courses, such as science, history, and even career tech. So the English language arts, we're in our first year of implementation, but they did practically almost a year of professional development last year, getting ready for the English language standards. The year I came on board, the teachers were getting ready for the math standards, and they had been preparing. I came on board and they continued that professional development. So we're into our second year of our math standards and our first year of our English language arts.
It was the craziest thing.
See, my wife's a flincher. It's okay. The one time I could have used a heads up,
Bam. I was putting on lipstick.
The good news is, Alpha has the largest customer service team in Alabama, so you'll be dealing with people here, not all over the country.
Oh, sorry.
For a plan built just for you, contact Keith Bryan in Eufaula.
When you look at the system overall and you talk about, you've had a lot of people move away and join the system. Some have retired. You've got 2 new assistant principals. Want to say something about those positions?
Yes, I'm excited about our administrators. They do have a difficult job. Parents or community members listening to the broadcast might have had a bad experience with an administrator. I can't say that that has never happened. As a former building assistant principal and principal, it's a difficult job. You're dealing with a tremendous amount of personality differences across the board. You are under such pressure of accountability from not only the State Department, but from the local superintendent and the state and our local Board of Education. So what I've done is I inherited tremendous school leaders. I've just built on that through the support of our school board. I have added an assistant principal at the primary school this year, Tina Richards, and I've added an assistant principal at the elementary school, Nancy Edwards. So now all 4 of our schools have 2 assistants to support our principal and to enhance support of teachers and students, to be more accessible, to allow our principals to get into the classrooms more, to watch instruction, because they know that their focal point as a building leader, and our assistant principals too, is to get in and out of those classrooms as much as possible to make sure that quality instruction is going on. That is their primary job. There's so many other things that surround that they have to do, and it's good that they have the people power, the assistant principals to help. Assistant principals are probably out of their office more than they're in. They should be. They need to be visible. Students need to see them. Teachers need to see them. And I'm happy to say that we're growing from within. If we can promote our future leaders from within our system, that's what I want to do. Is that always going to be possible? No. At times are we going to go outside the system for an individual? Yes. But what we have done in the year plus that I've been on board, we have continued to put educators in our schools. We've continued to give the schools the resources, and we've cut back in areas of our central office staff, because I feel like, and the board feels like, that our emphasis needs to be instruction in the classroom and supporting the teachers.
When you look at another part of this educational system, You've had two schools that have been heavily involved in construction just recently, and still are to some degree. Let's talk about that for a minute. First, the primary school.
Primary school, that will kind of segue into the elementary school, but what we've done at the primary school, I had heard about when I first got here, there was a tremendous drainage problem, standing water. It didn't take a lot of rain, and parents and children were walking through standing water. I looked at the primary school. James Bailey is my director of operations. I guess it was important to me. I had a background in system maintenance through an assistant superintendent position I held. And it was important to me that schools had what they needed. I felt like that we could correct that drainage problem. We have capital improvement monies that we get every year from the state, and we just have to put down our capital projects. And drainage was one of them. So what we did this summer is we gave the front of the elementary school a facelift. For those people who haven't driven by the primary school, I encourage them to do so. We've removed some trees. We have given it a facelift with new landscaping. The drainage has been completely redone. There has been no standing water since they got all the kinks out of the construction. And what we've also done, Ron, is there was an open air pavilion there, I guess you'd say, for the lack of a better word. And I was concerned that our primary school and our elementary school didn't have an indoor gym. So Mr. Bailey got with architects, we looked at it, and our board graciously has allowed me to take these two standing structures. We have two identical structures at the elementary and primary, and we're enclosing those structures for an air-conditioned and heated facility for our students to play in. We're excited about that. Our primary school is close to being finished. Our elementary school is not far behind, but we had an indoor gym at the middle school. We had an indoor gym at the high school. And in this day and age, for our students not to be in some type indoor air-conditioned facility, because I guess I can relate it to, as we grew up, gyms didn't have air conditioning, but that's just what we were used to as we grew up as young people. But our young people haven't grown up in that setting, and why shouldn't we provide them with something that's comfortable and that gives them everything they need to enjoy coming to school? And they need that playtime, whether you're in high school. We took our high school gym, which was not air conditioned when I got here, and we air conditioned it last year. We gave it a facelift, painted. It looks really nice. We're excited about that. We're going to continue to increase the curbside appeal of all of our schools. That is Mr. Bailey's, that's my directive to him as Director of Operations. When someone comes into Eufaula and they ride by one of our schools, I want them to look at the outside of our schools. I don't want them to see weeds growing up around fences. I don't want to see weeds growing up around our flower beds. I want to see the front of our schools attractive. Hopefully, someone will say, well, if it's that nice outside, hopefully it's that nice inside. So it's important to me that we continue to enhance the curb appeal of our schools. And so through these construction projects, and there will be more in the future, we're going to continue this effort.
This fits in real well with our current mayor's position of making Eufaula put its best foot forward. And education's a big part of that, I know. You're active in going to city council meetings. We always speak when you're there. If someone has a question for this show, and we're going to try to do this on a weekly basis, how can they get a question to you?
Well, Mitzi Clayton, who is our PR liaison for Eufaula City Schools, and I'm sure most people probably know Mitzi just like they probably know you and know the mayor. And she's actively involved. She's not only our media PR liaison for our school system, but she's a parent. She's active with the chamber. So we have talked about, and I hope she might already have other plans, but what we had talked about is maybe creating a little site maybe on our system Facebook or in our system website to where it could be Ask the Superintendent, to where maybe they could submit a question that ahead of time that I could look at, we could research, and I could provide an answer for them. You could have that also that we could talk about on our segments that we do. So that is one avenue that we've explored to give our stakeholders and our parents an avenue, and our business leaders and hardworking people out there. Might not even have children in our schools. They want to know a little bit more about what we do in Eufaula City Schools. So we're going to create that opportunity.
One of the things, a step back up as we're closing out this program, we talked about board meetings. When are the board meetings for the Eufaula City Schools?
When are they?
Yes.
They're the third Tuesday of the month, generally, unless there's something occurring in a particular month that would have us move it. As well as our group conducts business, 30 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes to 45 minutes is about how long.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tyler. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your concerns for the system that you're in charge of, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Well, thank you, Ron. We're excited about it and look forward to seeing you too.